puerta de mi casa. Y hasta ahora lo supe de repente. Y pasar la lista ella no estuvo presente. La de la mochila azul, la de ojitos dormilones, me dejó de limpia tú y bases calificaciones. Ni a recreo quiero salir, no me divierto con nada. No puedo leer ni escribir, me hace falta tu mirada. De recuerdo me quedan sus colores, me tocan mi cuaderno, dice amor este borrones. Yo quisiera mirarle sus pupitres, porque si ella no vuelve mi salón será muy triste. La de la mochila azul, la de ojitos dormilones, me dejó de limpia tú y bases calificaciones. Ni a recreo quiero salir, no me divierto con nada. No puedo leer ni escribir, me hace falta tu mirada.
Nicaragua, spring 1984. A Mosquito Indian village in the jungle on the Atlantic coast in the east. The area is at present a combat zone, and it took us 3 weeks on foot through jungle and swamps, constantly behind enemy lines, to reach the little settlement with our cameras. The Mosquitos are an Indian people with a population of about 140,000 who have been living in relative isolation on the Atlantic coast of Nicaragua for centuries. Nevertheless, their old ways of life have been greatly obliterated by the influence of Protestant missionaries of the Moravian Church and the immigration of blacks from the Caribbean. The Indians, in their isolation, have developed a kind of primitive socialism on a village level. They often cook collectively and share the harvest and whatever fish are caught. We did not learn until later that the last cow in the village was slaughtered to honor us. A military camp of the Mosquito Underground Army, the Missoura. The Mosquitoes have always been badly treated. Somoza's soldiers plundered their villages. In the revolutionary struggle of the Sandinistas against Somoza and the CIA, the Mosquitoes sided with the Sandinistas. Today, because of the failure of the Sandinistas to deal with them any better, many of the Mosquitoes are fighting the new rulers of the country. The Indians have no illusions. They know they will always have to defend themselves, regardless of who eventually succeeds the Sandinistas. What is of historical importance is that, For the first time since the Spanish conquest of Latin America, an Indian tribe has taken to armed resistance. This is an elite troop preparing a commando mission. These men are to enter Nicaragua from Honduras in order to attack a truck convoy. They need more weapons. They have little outside support. At the moment, of course, the United States is interested in supporting anyone who is against the Sandinistas. Early in the morning, the men cross the border, the Rio Coco. Having scouted the night before, they feel relatively secure that no enemy patrols are in the jungle on the other side. The French reporter Denis Reichle, likewise secure, is taking pictures. He has accompanied the Missouri troops for months and has prepared our work on this film. The Nicaraguan riverbank still looks quiet. Then suddenly, from somewhere in the jungle, several shots are fired. The troop has been discovered. After the initial confusion, the troop moved into the jungle. There were no casualties. We ourselves felt fairly safe, since it would have been suicide for anyone to follow well-armed men in such dense jungle. The commandos were in a difficult situation, since they had been discovered. They had to take a new route to their target, a long detour. Nobody knew the terrain. The men had to make their way slowly through swamps. Soon, there was no more drinking water. All the water holes this year had dried up due to lack of rain. This was the last water we found. Many of the Indians fell ill after drinking the stagnant water and had cramps. Then, after another day of hardship, the operation came to a standstill. The decision was made to turn back. Underway again with Missouri troops. This time it is a larger troop of regular units. Their uniforms and equipment are not as good, rather a colorful mixture. Many of the weapons are from Eastern Bloc countries, from deserters or taken in raids. We are deep in Nicaragua here, in a village directly on the Atlantic coast. The Missouri Underground Army claims that liberated areas exist, but in fact, these areas are liberated only as long as their soldiers are there. Sandinista units will reclaim them a week later. This back and forth has made people skeptical. As long as they can remember, soldiers have brought nothing but disaster. It takes the people a while to realize that for the first time, these are their soldiers from their own midst, speaking their own language. A woman starts singing a welcome song. The refrain goes, "Dame la mano, hermano, give me your hand, my brother."
La mano
These women are talking about their daily worries. The woman in the middle with a scarf had 2 sons shot to death a year ago. This elderly woman is telling one of the soldiers that several days ago Sandinista troops had been here and that they confiscated everything she owned, her kitchen utensils, her sewing machine, even spoons and sewing needles. This was her sewing machine.
Well, and Sandinista come in deciding, and everything, my kitchen tools and my house tools, everything, nothing, this my piarka.
Pialka means sewing machine.
I don't know now is nothing. This is the sea house, nothing, empty. I sorry, but can't help, God help someday.
This is Sang Sang, population almost 1,500, or rather, this is the place where Sang Sang used to be 2 years ago. In a large campaign along the Rio Coco, the Sandinistas burned down 60 villages and towns. An entire area was categorically depopulated. The Indians' land was taken from them and they were relocated. This 15-year-old girl, a Missouri soldier, shows us where her house used to stand. The town of Asang, not far away. This is a photograph of the church. It had a population of 2,500 people. All we could find was the cement foundation of the church. The Sandinistas' explanation was that it was a military necessity. Probably the Sandinistas wanted to rapidly advance the mosquitoes into modern forms of socialism. That meant having to destroy the old village structures. This soldier had also accompanied us to Sang Sang. It used to be his village. Where his house once stood, he recounts what happened back then. It is hard to believe that the Sandinistas could truly have wanted what happened. He says that they chopped down nearly all the coconut palms. The post of his house. He tells us that they burned down his house and then the entire village. People started running away and the ones who were caught were killed. The others were shot at as they tried to escape. Children were hit. The soldiers tied up their prisoners and then beheaded or shot them. They had left the corpses tied to the stakes. They were still there days later, decaying. Women were among them. Bombs were dropped from a helicopter. Everything was razed to the ground. The villagers were terribly frightened as they were being shot at. They threw themselves into the river and swam over to Honduras. That's how he escaped. Refugee camps were set up in Honduras after the horrible events at the beginning of 1982. This one is Tapamlaya, not far from the border. It seems to be permanent. There is even a school already. While we were here, another refugee camp was being set up provisionally, less than a mile away. Approximately 1,400 people fled from the village of Sandy Bay and vicinity in Nicaragua. They had been fighting there. These people all walked through swamps for 8 days in order to get here. Many of them came because they were afraid of reprisals if they stayed behind alone. Except for canvas tents, drinking water, beans and rice, there was still nothing there. In 1 month, when the rains begin, the whole place will be one big swamp. Everything we filmed here was done spontaneously within the first 20 minutes that we were here. At first, we followed the music. We asked later about the lyrics. It's a love song.
YouTube ni tawan tem yang nanibara ka priboyti nanibara kan ba pa 3 di siyang naniraikod bibrikan bara YouTube ni nakatpit ka kan baltakan ba yang nadaira waras baltaki luhpe naniba alkimi tapriski basit ni kibrika priya sarakan balal mihta priski brika.
Dice que el día 5 de enero.
She says that on the 5th of January she was at Mass when the Sandinistas came and surrounded the village. Then they took her children and tied them up. That is, they tied their hands behind their backs and led them to the churchyard.
Es decir, lo ataron de las manos y lo tendieron en el patio de la iglesia.
And what happened then?
Kaniyang nani ini bahngwisi bara luhpe nani ba wiltnikan kan time bara Arma latara niki arma ba by one time ba by one batem bilang na ni may rin nanini yahoy ting ni rayawi lupay ko bay la untara di mi
yawi kantem bulit likasim wal pamayakawi baku kan tila raban yawi kan.
Dice que comenzaron a rafaguear a la gente.
She says they opened fire on the people after they tied up her children. The women ran out of the church to the river, where they succeeded in escaping. It was as if it was raining bullets all around them.
Bahawi na bah kuliyang nani plapri untara plapi layurat tuak ni saura dia saura drapa pa saura so de sunta na balantem nahna ni badan klaki sut dan wan hawanul dan sakal tairi tilara
wala lawi ba rili na kat mais.
Dice que ellas una vez que huyeron a las montañas.
She says when she fled up into the mountains, she suffered a great deal. She had cuts all over her face, arms and body from navajuelas. Navajuelas is a kind of leaf as sharp as razor blades. She spent the nights under trees and was stung by mosquitoes.
Bajo la sombra de los árboles picadas de zancudos.
Did she see how her children died?
Priskan bahawitin na ni priskibrikan mahkar saban templa pi bahmuriyang nan.
Dice que directamente ellas
She says she didn't see it happen directly before her own eyes. The women ran away because fire had already been opened on her children. That's why they ran away. And how many were killed?
Yang nani yang. Ikan palibaw, 9. 9 pali.
9. And how many of her children?
Yang lupi palahiwa ba? Kuman lupi makadaip na wal an wala kum kalupi merin lupi kadara yang winaba por palahiwa utla bila kumiwinikan.
Mataron a 4 hijos de.
They killed 4 of her children, including a little girl.
Incluyendo una niña pequeña.
Kapura luan ay say daw kisa. Nako sinwataw kapia praise ka ko nawil. Trabil ba mitana ko ban wataw kisa.
Dice que ella no desea ni vivir más en esta vida.
She says that she doesn't want to go on living in this world when she thinks of her children, but she has no other choice. She simply survives. Whenever she thinks of it, she cries. She apologizes for crying. Can she tell us more about her children?
Yang nanibah nanit na eriwi kapri marubong piray daw kan mamiting na nubasaris na kunadia daw kan aniyang may saba na pitarabron bayang mariti lupi wait na kahwa daw kan bayang lupi. Dice
que después que ellas se refugiaron a Honduras.
The woman on the left says that she had a son here when she fled to Honduras who took care of her, brought her food and other things. But now she's even worse off because this son has been wounded. He was shot through his shoulder and the hand, and her husband is in the hospital also seriously wounded. That's why it's such a calamity.
Tiene un hijo que está lisiado, que tiene un balazo aquí y de la mano, es hijo de ella también. Y el otro señor que estuvo hospitalizado también es el marido de esa señora. Entonces que ella está sufriendo sumamente demasiado.
This is her son. We spoke with him the following morning. He tells us it was on a Thursday at 5 in the afternoon when a large troop of Sandinistas came and surrounded the refugee village. It was too late by the time they recognized that the soldiers were Sandinistas, and too late for him to flee because they were already too close. They captured as many men as they could, led them to the church and tied their hands in back. All were thrown to the ground, and someone stuck a knife in his neck to make him talk, but there was nothing he could confess. Then the Sandinistas said they must think they're really macho men and want to show how tough they are. Then they started making fun of the prisoners, saying that they were also pious, they ought to get on their knees and pray to God to see how he would save them. That's when they opened fire. One of the men jumped up and ran away. They didn't hit him and he escaped. At that moment his father just happened to come out of the jungle, walking towards the village. They started shooting at him right away and wounded him badly. He himself was shot with the others and believed dead. Hours later, when he came to, the soldiers were gone. He had lost a lot of blood. A 5-year-old girl helped him away and took care of him. Of the 11 prisoners taken, 9 were dead. Only he and the man who ran away survived.
Y seguidamente, con un puñal o cuchillo que le llamamos, le pusieron en las nucas. ¡Comando! ¡Acción! ¡Orden! ¡Armas!
A Missouri army training camp.
¡Presente! ¡Armas! ¡Orden! ¡Armas!
Approximately half of the recruits are children.
¡Orden! ¡Armas! ¡Marque paso! ¡Par! ¡Paró! ¡Hot! ¡Paró! ¡Hot! ¡Paró! ¡Hot! ¡Paró! ¡Hot! ¡Duro! ¡Paró! ¡Hot! ¡Paró! ¡Hot! ¡Paró! ¡Hot! ¡Paró! ¡Hot! ¡Paró! ¡Hot! ¡Párese y agarra el paso! ¡Paró! ¡Hot! ¡Paró! ¡Hot! ¡Paró! ¡Hot! ¡Hot! 3, 2, 1, ¡Hot! 3, 2, 1, ¡Paso! 1, 2, 3, 4, ¡Paró! ¡Hot! 3, 4, ¡Paró! ¡Hot! 3, 4, ¡Paró! ¡Hot! 3, 4, ¡Paró! ¡Hot! 3, 4, ¡Hot! 3, 2, 1, ¡Hot! 3, 2, 1, ¡Paso! 1, 2, 3, 4, ¡Paró! ¡Hot! 3, 4, ¡Paró! ¡Hot! 3, 4, ¡Hot! 3, 2, 1, ¡Paso! 1, 2, 3.
Because the Mosquitoes have absolutely no military tradition, they had to enlist instructors, almost all of whom were from Somoza's former National Guard.
¡Parado! ¡Hot! 3, 4, 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 ¡Parado! ¡Hot! 3, 4.
The target practice area in the camp. The ammunition is all live.
Rápido, enganche. Quita esta enganche rápido. Dispare. Otra mano. Vamos, rápido. Saque, hombre. Vamos. Otra mano. Siga. Otra mano. Vamos a disparar con el mortero de 60 milímetros. Recuerden bien que en automático el mortero sale de una vez por todas. Entonces, el morterista debe de tener el mortero en esta
The
posición.
instructor warns them about the mortar, especially about the sensitive percussion fuses. If anyone drops a grenade or touches a fuse, they'll all be blown up.
No moverlo ahí hasta que el ayudante meta la granada. Tiene que quitar bien la mano, porque si no, recuerde bien, una explosión aquí es un fracaso para todos.
Juana, dos manos, agarre, hombre. Usted meta la granada. Métela. Baja la mano por aquí, no la pases por arriba, ¿ok? Las dos manos. Échale. La mano por aquí. Déjala ahí. Espérate, suelta. Más. Agarre duro. Otro. Fuera usted, fuera. Vamos, otro. Nada, por verdad. Cuidado con golpear la granada. Venga. Agárralo. Agárralo, hombre. Cuidado la mano. Ya sabes cómo la mano. Ok, otro. Otro. Vamos. Con las dos manos. Siéntese, hombre. Siéntese. Silencio usted. Con las dos manos. Alinee bien, hombre. Mano por aquí debajo, por aquí debajo. ¡Fuera! Mal, estúpido. ¡Fuera ahí! Ahora, otro. Póngale ahí una rodilla. Aquí, esta rodilla aquí.
¿Cómo eres?
Por debajo de la mano, por debajo.
¿Cómo eres?
Otro. Fuera. Vamos. Ya sabes cómo la mano aquí. Ok, con las dos manos, sentate. Aquí abajo la mano, aquí abajo. Ok, otro.
Avísame, pues. Tell us a little, we asked the 12-year-old.
Los sandinistas muy malos.
The Sandinistas are very bad people, he says to us. That's why he came here. They drove the young people and the priest out of the village, and then they burned it down, the church too, and the Bibles. That's why he came here, to save his life.
Venimos aquí para salvar mi vida.
And you are going into combat now? Yes. You are not scared? No. You want to fight? Yes. How did you get here?
¿De dónde?
From where he wants to know, from the refugee camp.
Voluntario.
Voluntarily. And what does your mother say?
Me mandó.
She sent me here. And your little brothers?
Lo mataron con un balazo.
They shot them, says the 10-year-old. How old were they?
2 años.
2 years old. And the other one?
6.
6. Did you see it happen?
Sí.
Yes. Please tell us. We'd like to know.
Avísale, ¿cómo ha pasado eso?
A puro gusto lo mataron.
They just killed them for fun. What happened to your mother?
Lo picaba como carne y lo
They cut her up like a piece of meat and then they shot her. Then I came here all by myself.
solito.
Do you want to fight?
Sí.
Yes. You want to kill the Sandinistas? Yes. But there are children in the Sandinista army just like you. Yes, he knows that. And why do you want to kill them?
Como lo mataron a mi hermano.
Because they killed my brother and my father too. That's why I want to kill also.
¿Cuándo vas a ir al combate?
When do you go into combat?
Cuando pase el curso.
When I finish the course, that is in 5 weeks at the latest.
¿Con qué sueñas en la noche?
What do you dream about at night?
Con mi mamá.
About my mother.
Como ellos son pequeños, nosotros decimos, son el futuro ejército.
We say to ourselves, because these boys are still small, they are the future army of Nicaragua. As for where they come from, they are from various villages in Nicaragua, Indian settlements. Most of them have come here because their parents or brothers and sisters were killed.
Ya le han matado el papá, la mamá, el hermano, y además de eso también.
In addition, they are at the age when the Sandinistas will draft them and send them into combat without any training against us who are fighting for the liberation of Nicaragua. They, as good sons of Nicaragua, as good Indians, have joined our organization and prefer to die in battle. Are they brave?
De mucha importancia.
That is of great importance. We have already seen the results. In various cases we have sent them to the front lines of combat, and they were usually the bravest, braver than the adults.
And these kids are the most best one for training, military training, because the age that they have is 10, 9, and 11. These kids have 11 years. So we see that he is one of the best kids because why? The age that he have, his mind is not corrupt yet, so we can prepare him and train him to be a professional soldier in days to come in.
You think he knows what is communism?
This is Denis Reichle of our crew.
Because all of them know why the situation that our people are living in, why he had to run, and his mother, and why his daddy's died today. So he know why what communism means to him.
Could you ask him?
Usted sabe que
The instructor asks vaguely what the Sandinistas have done, and the only thing the boy will answer in a second is they are piricuacos, they are puny runts.
¿Cómo? This is the age of kids, the best age because their mind are clean, their mind are free to take in the training that you are giving them and the preparation that you are giving them, so they are have a very clear mind. And you can bring them to something.
That means you can brainwash them easily.
Yeah, you can brainwash them and show them the reality of why they are fighting today.
Okay, soldados, pon cuidado.
Soldiers, pay attention. We are here as volunteers in the Misura training camp in the mountains of Nicaragua.
Dentro de las montañas que estamos en Nicaragua.
The instructor is lying because of the camera. The camp is in Honduras, not Nicaragua. We are fighting here to liberate our country. We are all volunteers, young men determined to combat communism. We are ready to go through all this training, make all these sacrifices for the well-being of our country.
En bienestar de la patria, porque aquel soldado que se prepara.
The soldier who does well in training is the soldier who survives on the battlefield.
En los campos de batalla. Cada gota de sudor.
Every drop of sweat we shed here in training is a quart of blood less on the battlefield.
Que vamos a ir a botar allá en el campo de batalla. Por eso debemos de tomar los entrenamientos.
That's why training has to be a labor of love.
Cuando vemos que nuestra patria,
When we see our country, our mother, trodden upon by these communists,
comunistas, por esos comunistas internacionales,
these international communists, then we have to fight to the death.
hasta la muerte.
No, say he not afraid, he was ready to die.
So young?
Tan joven, dice. Si no tiene miedo.
He's not afraid.
No.
No, he's not afraid.
He's not afraid.
And why you want to die so young?
¿Por qué quiere morir tan joven, dice?
Con mi hermano, con Nicaragua, con el chagar, con el Che.
He said he want to fight because his brother is one who died, so that's why we are fighting today.
It reminds me a very sad story when I was myself 14 and was involved in Berlin and in Germany in the last hours, in the last week of fights against the Russians. And we also believe we got to save the country. And many of us stayed there, died. And for me, it's a very sad morning. It's a very sad moment what I see now. Why it reminds me too much of my own childhood.
You too were an orphan?
Yes, but it has nothing to do with this. It has to do that in the age of 13, 14, if somebody tells you you're a man and you go to fight for the country, you automatically believe it and you go. And that's what I see here again. It happened to us 40 years ago, and it happened around the world, I see, all over, every time. I can't put out of my mind when I see all these kids that, for me, I see them practically dead.
Flor de la flores, flor de mi amor, vente conmigo, llame tu amor. Flor de la flores, flor de mi amor, vente conmigo, llame tu amor. Vuelve, bien de mi vida, la dueña de mis amores. Belibel, flor de las flores, ven a hacerme feliz. Yo te a tu casa y no te vi. ¿Quién me lo manda? Yo me dormí. Yo te a tu casa y no te vi. ¿Quién me lo manda? Yo me dormí. Vuelve, bien de mi vida, la dueña de mis amores. Belibel, flor de las flores, ven a hacerme feliz. Vuelve, bien de mi vida, la dueña de mis amores. Belibel, flor de las flores, ven a hacerme feliz.